Randy Pitchford is everyone's favourite court jester or charlatan or pretending magician, and he's always in the news for doing something controversial. Hello, my name is Henry Cooper. I'm here with Mr. Gareth Evans. You're watching Pretty Good Gaming, and the Randy Pitchford law case is always full of interesting tidbits.
But is he a thief? Is the one that you left out in the intro there. Is he a yeah, he can make money disappear probably because he's a magician.
But did he steal it? I'm so glad you kind of filled that in, because I was hoping you'd come in at some point, but I didn't know where to lead you. For those of you who can't remember, because I sure as hell couldn't when we started writing this, Randy Pitchford, CEO of Gearbox and part-time, full-time magician, is currently in a legal dispute with Wade Callender, who's a former Gearbox lawyer. The background on that whole story is that Callender accuses Mr. Pitchford of siphoning off a bunch of Gearbox employee bonus funds to personal accounts, which is around $12 million. So it's a whole lot of money.
That's a lawsuit by Callender, which came after the one that Pitchford, because Pitchford's suing him first for misusing company credit card for personal expenses and destroying evidence. So this Callender lawsuit, which he's accusing Pitchford of diverting $12 million in Borderlands bonuses intended for the studio into his own personal account. It's all very messy, and that isn't even the beginning of what we're going to discuss today. That's the backstory, right? Yeah. That's what happened, and this lawsuit is in process now, and there's an update to this lawsuit surrounding some new evidence that's come to light.
So part of Callender's accusations was what's called fiduciary duty, breach of fiduciary duty, and we've briefly covered this in the past. So under the US legal system, a fiduciary duty is the legal term describing the relationship between two parties that obligates one to act solely in the interest of the other. So Randy Pitchford, because he's the majority owner of Gearbox, because he's one of the CEOs, he has a legal responsibility to act in the company's interest over his personal interest. So that's where it's kind of a bit interesting.
So the allegation is that he's been acting in his own interest by siphoning off this money.
Yes,
and not acting in the interests of the company itself. Now, this money is like Take-Two money, right? It's from the publisher. Callender's lawyers have just presented new information.
Yes, so Callender's team have updated and submitted a new 76-page filing to the case, which is really bloody long, and it's full of a bunch of legal jargon that I don't understand, but we're going to do our best.
Yeah, we didn't read it.
We read someone else who'd read it, and we skimmed through it and tried to understand as much as we could. Read the important bits. And it includes an amendment to the Borderlands 3 contracts between Gearbox, who obviously are the developer, and 2K, who are the publisher, and it was dated back in November the 29th in 2016, so it's a little bit old, so it's been around for a little while. And it directly references the $12 million in bonuses to Mr. Randy Pitchford, as well as another $3 million, which went to the CFO, so the Chief Financial Officer, Stephen Ball, I don't quite know how you pronounce his name. There's an H in it. So basically, 2K will pay in a total of $15 million in bonuses to Gearbox, but specifically mentions Mr. Pitchford and Mr. Ball. Mm-hmm. So it's not really going to Gearbox, it's going to these two people, which is where the whole legal argument can kind of get a bit funny, and we'll get onto that in a sec. To reach this bonus, to acquire it, to, earn it, they have to hit a couple milestones, such as what they call release to master, which is essentially what we call going gold. When the game's ready, shipped, got a release date, it's going to retail, everything's good. They have to pay attentions towards the development and success of Borderlands 3 and their personal engagement for 30 hours per week. $12 million bonus for 30 hours work.
30 hours a week. That's not bad, Randy. How have you managed to swindle that?
That's the real magic trick right there. Yeah. And the thing is that makes this particularly interesting is that 2K authorized the diverting of the funds, this $12 million in funds, to Randy Pitchford's personal company, which is called Pitchford Entertainment Media and Magic.
How dodgy is that?
Booking birthday parties everywhere. They are, well, I'm hesitant to say legally, but in their little contracts, they are allowed to send the money directly to Pitchford's personal separate business account, not the Gearbox company as a whole. And it's a heavily redacted piece of text. There's black blocks everywhere where they've taken out stuff that you're not allowed to see. The quote is, Gearbox hereby requests and irrevocably authorizes 2K to pay to Pitchford Entertainment Media and Magic any incremental bonus payment that may come due under section 1.6 of Amendment 21, then it's heavily redacted. It goes on, all payments to Pitchford Entertainment Media and Magic pursuant to this letter will constitute a payment to Gearbox. So that's all saying the money that's going to Gearbox isn't really going to Gearbox. Gearbox. It's going to Randy Pitchford and his little side hustle business of doing magic tricks.
It sounds very dodgy, right? And your first question is, why is he sticking that money there? It's supposed to be for Gearbox, isn't it? It's supposed to be for the development of Borderlands 3. It's not supposed to be for his personal use or his private, his own business uses. It's not what it's supposed to be for. It's supposed to be for, as Callender said in his original lawsuit, it's supposed to be for bonuses for the whole of the Borderlands team. But obviously, it's not going to get paid out in bonuses when it's in Pitchford Entertainment, Media and Magic.
I mean, he's got to spend that 12 million on buying, nude cards to show to the kids at their 6th birthday party and inflatable balloon magic. The thing is, though, he may actually be entitled to it according to the contracts because he and the other guy, Stephen Ball, are specifically named, and presumably they will have or have fulfilled their milestones, so they have earned it according to the rules of the contract. So what law is actually broken here? What argument is Callender standing on? And it comes down to the fiduciary duty kind of thing, because he has the responsibility to the company, the Gearbox as a whole, over his personal interest, which is his magic company, the Pitchford Entertainment, Media and Magic.
So this new information that's come to light is that they've proven that this money did go into Randy Pitchford's personal account, but the question still remains over whether that is in itself against the law or against the contract that they have with Take-Two. Now, maybe it's for Take-Two to get involved with this and to think and say, like, hang on a minute, is this, if it really was, I mean, that's the question, right? If it really was against the terms of the contract with Take-Two, wouldn't we heard of off Take-Two by now, or wouldn't Take-Two be pursuing things by now?
Exactly.
Why is it left to Callender to be taking like a personal lawsuit against Randy on this in order to correct it if it is wrong by the law?
Yeah, Take-Two are very much, not Take-Two, 2K. I think I keep saying Take-Two. It's
2K.
2K. I keep mixing. They're two, but they're basically the same company. 2K are always very silent about this stuff, as most publishers are. They're like, well, we're not going to comment on this. It's not really anything to do with us, but it absolutely is. It's your money that's gone somewhere, maybe illegally, maybe not. But part of this bonus, the catch to it, is that it's what they call recoupable, and that means that it will be paid back to 2K in royalties from Borderlands 3 sales. And that sounds a bit like, well, what's that? But that's just how they make money. It's how they all do it.
That's the publisher agreement, right?
But that's we'll pay you all this money, we'll fund the game, and then you sell it, we'll get a bit of the revenue from it, and then we'll get a royalty bonus from each one sold.
We'll get the money back. And that's how, it just outlines how these types of deals usually happen between a publisher and a developer. The publisher pays loads of money up front in order to support the developer with through the process of developing the game. Once the game gets released, the publisher gets reimbursed that money plus whatever royalties.
And at the beginning of all this, Gearbox threatened to file a grievance against Callender for his comments and accusations and accused him of lying egregiously, but that never actually happened. So he's not really been lying, and they haven't filed this grievance. So that's a bit of a failed power move from Gearbox there.
And we have a quote here from an attorney called Richard Hoeg from the Hoeg law firm. I'm not sure if he's part of Callender's thing or not, or it's just been quoted here as we read it on the Yahoo page. He says, if the royalty were just owed to Gearbox on the whole and then Randy diverted it, it would look very much like stealing. So, if this and that, he's talking very much like a lawyer.
Yes,
if this and that, then therefore it definitely would look very much like stealing. It's no definite terms. It's total lawyer speak, right? And he carries on, as an officer or director, you owe a duty to protect the assets of the company. That's usually diverted into a duty of loyalty and a duty of care. Here, the duty of loyalty is very much implicated, as one could argue, as they are in fact arguing, that Randy took a business opportunity directly out of the hands of the company he owes this duty towards. Another lawyer way of saying that, he very much owes the duty of care to the company, and Randy's
he has a responsibility
looking after himself, isn't he? He's lining his own pockets where he should be putting that money into the development of the game itself.
It's not quite putting his hand in the cookie jar. It's taking the cookies straight out of the kid's mouth, so they can't even eat it. So then he goes on a bit more. It was likely Randy negotiating the agreement directly, so that brings up its own concerns, especially if the plan was always for Randy to receive this $12 million. In fact, if he weren't in functional control of the company, I wouldn't doubt that if such a provision were in an agreement of this type, that he could go to his board and CEO and say, I deserve a portion, or perhaps even all, of such bonus amount. The issue is that he is in control of the company, and I'm not sure they went through the proper corporate processes to cleanse any decision to divert funds to his magic company. Such a cleansing action would ordinarily take place through the approval of disinterested directors and or stockholders. In other words, if the folks that are not directly directly benefiting from the contract or payment approve of it, generally, the law is going to be okay with it. It's the kind of thing general counsel would recommend. So that's
What's that mean, Henry?
So it's a long old paragraph. Pitchford is the 50% owner of Gearbox Software, as you know, a legal entity, a recognized company. He owns 50% of it and has a 51% operational control, with the other guy, Stephen Ball, owning all the rest and controlling the rest. So because he's the majority owner, he's the man in charge, and he was in control of the payment authorization stuff, it all gets weird because a third party who's uninvolved should be the ones to come in and say, okay, no, this is nonsense, or no, yeah, it's fine, because they're not standing to gain anything.
He's a law unto himself, the bottom line is, but you know, at this point
he follows the laws of magic.
Yeah, when I read that, when you say this magic company, it's like he makes all this money disappear. It's just a funny term. When it comes down to it though, 2K bothered? If they get the game, if they get the money back, if they get the royalties due on top, are they really bothered what Randy's done with the money? I mean, that's the question as well. And if Randy is in control of everything, then he might just be sticking that money there, and then unless he spent it, they can't really prove that he's done anything bad with it. If he spent it on like a yacht or something, then they could come in and say, well, hang on a minute, shouldn't that be good? And like, until the moment he spends it, like they could investigate it, like, it could be like an investigation, and they could track the money, and if the money is still there, it hasn't been spent, he's not actually, you know, it's just in a bank account sitting there. He's not actually broken any laws if he's not spent it technically. So that could be a loophole that Pitchford's waiting on to see if he has to actually make the money reappear out of the hat, just like he made it disappear.
And Pitchford's attorneys and legal team filed a motion to stop this stuff being exposed to the public. You're not allowed to reveal it because it's our contract and blah, blah, blah. But it was denied, and obviously has been shown anyway, because...
I mean, it's strange, isn't it? I mean, if you've got nothing to hide, why would you want to try and hide it? Like, and if new information comes to light that, you know, he definitely did have the money into his own personal account, then why would you want to hide that? Like, he looks guilty here.
He does.
This information makes him look guilty. We don't know whether he's guilty or not. We don't know whether he's broken any crimes. We're not lawyers, we're not attorneys, we're not law people, but it looks very dodgy. And the question that remains is, how does this look for the company Gearbox? So this is Randy's Pitchford. It reflects badly on him, as well as his employees, as well as the upcoming Borderlands 3, which is one of the most highly anticipated games of this year. People aren't going to be happy with this. It's going to turn people off to hear that the CEO is possibly fiddling all this money.
Yeah, no doubt.
What does Take-Two 2K think of all that? I did it myself there.
Again,
What does Take-Two think of all this? That's the question, right? Are 2K going to be soured by this? With their relationship in future with Gearbox going to be tarnished by this? There's a lot of still questions up in the air whether this is true or not, whether he's guilty or not. It doesn't look good for Randy and Gearbox right now.
That's absolutely true. One of the closing lines of the article we read is, no matter who wins in front of a judge, Gearbox is losing in the court of public opinion. And that's absolutely true. They've had so many controversies and dramas, from Randy doing weird things to the Epic Store exclusivity that people aren't happy about.
Yeah, that he's wiping his hands off. It's like he didn't make that decision.
Even though he's the 51% operating control person.
Controlling it.
The jury date is currently set for January 2020, but it's more than likely that we'll see an end to this before then. These things generally don't end up going all the way to court. They settle out of court and do some other way of doing it. Or Randy he'll shove him, and that's what he did to the Claptrap guy. He'll give him a good shove.
Accusations come out recently. There's been so much with Randy recently, with him denying that he said there's microtransactions in... denying microtransactions in Borderlands 3, even though he went on stage and said that they're going to be monetization just like the previous game, just not microtransactions. And then this one where he shoved that dude, you know, he called out who was a Game Informer for saying on Twitter that there was microtransactions in the game, and he specifically said there wasn't, and he's trying to make the word microtransactions disappear now. Good luck with that one, Mr. Magic Company, whatever, LLC, bloody whatever it's called. I don't know what it's company.
Balloon Animals for Kids, Pitchford.
Whatever it is.
There's a really great line in the filing from Callender which says, Pitchford's grasp of the truth is even more tenuous than his magic research excuse for exploiting teenage sex workers. So their team, they're really going it. They're taking everything they can to bring him down. But ultimately, at the end of this, the main thing we've learned is that the 12 million happened. that he did get 12 million from 2K along with 3 million to the other guy. Yeah. But the matter of whether or not it was unlawful is still up for debate about the fiduciary duty stuff, and ultimately it'll come down to a judge deciding one way or another, or they'll settle out of court ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I said, it's not for us to decide whether it's guilty or not. It's just whether, we're just presenting the information and asking you guys whether you think it's going to affect how you think about the upcoming Borderlands 3, whether you think it's going to... Bigger question around over this is, have you lost faith in Randy recently, given his recent shenanigans, his recent bad behavior, just in general, pushing people and, accusing people of putting words in his mouth when he's definitely said so himself, denying the word microtransaction even exists? I don't know. I mean, I didn't have a lot of faith in Randy in the first place, but after the last couple of months, I mean, his reputation is just totally trash now, isn't it?
I always think the game industry needs more personalities like your Hideo Kojima's, like tangible characters you can look at and be like, oh, you do this. Randy's not the guy we want for that.
Well, he's the villain. He's the pantomime villain. He's the one we can just point at and laugh. Oh, it's the clown. He's the court jester or something.
Because the magician showed up drunk and now you're stuck with the clown.
Yeah. I mean, so long as he's not doing harm to people, which you could argue is by pushing people, but as long as Gearbox employees are well looked after, I mean, this 12 million, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's not like I was due any of this money. No. But, I'm happy for Randy to continue existing in my industry so long as he gives us a couple of chuckles every now and then.
So long as it's not at anyone's expense, I can live with him. But anyway, that's just our thoughts on the latest update to the Randy Pitchford nonsense. No doubt there'll be more very soon. He'll probably go on a Twitter rant about this saying, oh no, I never said that didn't happen. It's in black and white, mate. If you like the content we've been creating and want to help us make it, go on over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. You'll get access to our Discord channel as well as early access to our podcast, and it's all for as little as $1, so give it a look. Give it a go. But anyway, I've been Henry. This has been Mr. Gareth Evans. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.